ABC Listen. Podcasts, radio, news, music and more.
And then I just remember my sister saying, Dad's died. And I'm like, what? You're taking the piss, like you're joking, right? And then she's like, no, why would I be joking about this? And I'm like, oh, you can't be. You can't be serious. And then we look back on it. Now to this, like obviously got the coroner's report. He had a heart attack and probably couldn't invent what happened. But looking back on it, you always kick yourself and ask yourself, is there something I could have done wise? But it's the saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink it.
Melbourne's Cameron Munster. In a year where he has endured the heartbreak of losing his father, he's on the precipice of an NRL title. It's something out of a sports movie. And to be honest, you could create a franchise of sports movies from this one game of footy. There are Broncos players seeking redemption for very different reasons. A New South Wales coach leading the pride of Brisbane to the promised land after some call for his head. Heck, Reece Walsh is a two-word narrative. It goes Reece Walsh. Melbourne has a broken arm comeback, a fired-up prop, and the enduring crankiness, grit and system of Craig Bellamy. I'm Patrick Stack. This is ABC Sport Daily. Nick Campton has given us the best NRL storylines all year. We go with him once more into the rugby league breach, Cam Munster. The thing I notice about grand finals is that it can be about family as much as the player. It's a kind of shared experience, regardless of the code. And I wonder how much his late father looms over Sunday.
Well, Stacky, I think so much of this game is about fathers and sons. I know it's a way that I bonded with my own father. It's a thing that brings my family together. And so I definitely think it's something that would be maybe not right at the forefront of Cam Munster's mind, but I'm sure he's like a lot of us. He has a lot of great grand final memories growing up, and his father would have been a really big part of it. I think the way that Munster has carried himself through this, what's probably the most difficult time of his life, is a real credit to him as a person, and I think a credit to the way that his father raised him growing up. So it might not be at the forefront of his mind, but it'd certainly be something maybe he thinks about in a quiet moment this week.
Munster is a live wire, and in a team that we lionise the system, there's actually a lot of individual talent. Who are you most drawn to, Campo? Is it Ryan Pappenhausen, Harry Grant, the broken arm comeback of Kiwi Jharome Hughes? How do you see it?
What I love about that Melbourne spine is I think there's a real give and take there in terms of who's the best player at any given time, but also who's the most dominant player. And I think over the past 4 or 5 years, there have been times where it's been Munster, times where it's been Grant, times where it's been Hughes, times it's been Pappenhausen. But I think right now it's Munster. And that's not to say that Grant and Pappenhausen and Hughes can't have massive games on Sunday, but it feels like to me, all the best stuff is running through Munster right now. In that preliminary final win against the Sharks, he had 15 or 16 carries, a ludicrous amount for a 5'8". He was just so busy, so present. There was really big plays that he made, like the kickover for Pappenhausen's try just before half-time.
Give it on to Munster. Grubber infield for Pappenhausen. Kicks it along the deck. Dives on it in the end goal. And referee Klein points to the spot. That is the purple at its very best. Munster with the creative kick. Pappenhausen with the pace. And then the deft touch on the toe.
And then smaller plays that you only really see when you zoom out a little bit. Like he had the great run in the play before the Xavier Coates try. It's deep in his own half. 5'8" aren't meant to run the ball there. But he runs the ball really well, gets a quick play. The ball leaves 2 defenders on the ground. And that lets Harry Grant duck out a dummy half and then creates a passage of play that ends with the Coates try. I'm not sure if Melbourne are going to win this game. I'm still bouncing back and forth. But if they win, I think Munster is near a guarantee for the Clive Churchill medal. He's certainly my pick if I do end up picking Melbourne, which I'm not sure I'm going to do yet.
So we've largely talked backs there. Let's talk forwards. Stefano Utoikamanu, he took a shot at Payne Haas, and it caught me by surprise this week. Craig Bellamy was the same.
I didn't actually hear it. Obviously, I heard about it, but I was surprised.
Has that lit a fuse in this forwards battle?
I think it has. I didn't sort of take Utoikamanu's comments to be specifically about Payne Haas. I thought it was maybe based a little bit more at other Broncos players, but it's certainly, I think, been taken on board by the Broncos.
I want to make sure this week I set up for, to get that first kick of the game, and there's going to be a lot of people I want to run at. There's a lot of people that don't like in this team, and I'm keen to go out there and run someone over.
You going to name names there?
Nah, I don't want to name names, but there's a lot of people I think, they're a bit got stuck up. But
I know Craig Bellamy hates this sort of stuff, but I kind of love it. I love it when players speak their mind, when they tell us what they really think instead of just kind of bland cliches trying to hose it all down. And I think it has added a spicy element to this game that, you know, with all the star power and history between the two teams, it didn't need much, I think, to really pop off. But, you know, Utsui Kamanu, a very unlikely person to do it, has kind of lit the match. And I think there's going to be a little bit of extra feeling in this game that there maybe wasn't before. And that's the sort of edge that can take what promised to be a good grand final at the very least and could make it a great one when you add in maybe not hatred, but a little bit of animosity. Brisbane feeling like they have something to prove. It's certain from Utsui Kamanu's comments that he feels like he wants to get one up on them. It's good stuff, man. It's grist for the mill. It just sort of adds to the spectacle for me.
From the Brisbane side of things, Michael Maguire is a heck of a story. The coach, at one point this season, had questions swirling about his Broncos tenure. Now, he's on the cusp of all-time greatness. What a third act in the Michael Maguire story.
Yeah, absolutely, Stacky. I think something Maguire is really good at is getting the best out of elite players. And that might sound like an easy thing to do, but if it was, then every Broncos coach over the last 20 years would have had multiple premierships. It's not easy to get the thoroughbreds running. It's not easy to get them all in a place where they're all ready to make the hard choices and the tough sacrifice for the team. And it took Maguire a while. You know, it's worth remembering that around the halfway point of the season, Brisbane were down in 12th place. I remember that their rock bottom was an awful loss to Manly where it just looked like they couldn't get anything going.
Siren sounds. 34 points to 6. The Manly Warringah Sea Eagles, dominant victors over the Brisbane Broncos.
But Reece Walsh came back into the side and it looked like Maguire's impact really started to flow through. There's so many guys on this team who are real hard-working, hard-grafting success stories. Guys like Gehamat Shibasaki, he's probably the best example, but I look at fellas like Josiah Karapani on the wing as well, or guys like Brendan Piakura in the back row, even guys like Tyson Smoothie who come off the bench and, you know, you might have to be a bit eagle-eyed to see his impact, but it's certainly there nearly every time he plays. And to me, those guys are the ultimate Michael Maguire success stories. He loves grinders, he loves hard workers, he loves guys that'll push themselves beyond the limits of their ability for the team. He's great at getting the best out of players like Walsh and Reynolds and Mam and Staggs and all these guys with elite level talent. But I also think he's done a great job of filling the gaps, inspiring the best players to play their best and inspiring the guys maybe at the other end, maybe who don't have the star power, to play above themselves. So I think he's done a fantastic job. And like you say, it's an incredible third act. There's not many coaches that have won premierships at multiple clubs. In the 21st century, I think we're only looking at Wayne Bennett, who has done it. It would certainly cap one of the great, maybe I couldn't even say comebacks. It's more of like a story arc for Maguire, you know?
In terms of redemption arcs, there are two Brisbane playmakers seeking to exercise demons. Who do you think carries more weight Sunday? Is it Ben Hunt and what happened for him and the Broncos 10 years ago?
So, from right to left, the Cowboys... Hunt is knocked on. Ben Hunt has sunken with disappointment.
Or is it Adam Reynolds, who's had his own struggles in deciders? I'm thinking with Souths, but maybe also Brisbane.
You know what? I actually think it's Ben Hunt because, like, I am an unabashed Ben Hunt fan. I'll confess that right now. And I really admire and respect the way that he was able to, one, rebuild his career after that drop in the 2015 Grand Final, because that is a moment that honestly could have changed him forever for the worse. And that could have been the end of him as a top-line playmaker. Such were the stakes of that moment and such was the attention that came after. But I think about the way he's been able to rebuild his career since then. I think about the way that he honestly speaks about that. I think about the way that he says himself that he still thinks about it all the time. And I think about the way that in the 2022 Origin decider, when he scored that series-sealing try, and everyone said he'd exercise the demons. But then when he kicked the field goal against the Raiders in week 1 of this year, then everyone said he'd exercise the demons.
Ben Hunt. Hunt from inside 40. Ben Hunt hit it well. He's celebrating. It hits the plate. It goes over. Ben Hunt.
I don't think he can fully exercise those demons for himself or in people's minds until he wins a grand final. And this might be his best and last chance. You know, he's the oldest player in the league now. He's the last player in the league who debuted in the first decade of the 2000s. And Brisbane have got a great side and he's contracted for next year and maybe they can be here again, but maybe they won't be. I am thinking this is get-out stakes for Ben Hunt. This could be the last chance to shut the door on 2015, to close the loop, to get that thing that he has been chasing ever since he had that really difficult night. And I think the same is true for Reynolds to some extent. It's not just the 2021 Grand Final loss with Souths, it's the 2023 Grand Final loss with the Broncos. In 2023 particularly, he didn't have the happiest of nights, but Reynolds is looking for a second premiership. He has that other one with the Rabbitohs in 2014 with Michael Maguire all those years ago. He's probably got some demons to exercise because he didn't have his best night 2 years ago, but for me, there's more on the line for Hunt.
Finally, Reece Walsh, maybe the best last year. There is beauty in his chaos. But which Walsh do we get on Sunday?
I think we get a bit of it all. And that is the best part of Reece Walsh, is that he can go from an absolutely shocking drop or a bad miss to something absolutely sublime in the space of seconds. I feel like that's what we got in the 2023 Grand Final. It was a mixed game for him, but the best part of the mix was pretty exhilarating. What I really enjoy about Walsh's play is that he doesn't let the good moments or the bad moments totally define him. He just always keeps chasing the game, always tries to stay in it as best he can.
We've got to be on high alert with some of their players in their team. And the thing I love about Reece is he's got a goldfish mentality. He forgets about what he's done 2 minutes before what he's done, and just shows the type of person he is, and he's a very dangerous player.
I've never seen someone who wears his stardom so lightly. You know, the pressures of playing in Brisbane can be absolutely crushing. It's hard to be a prince of that city, but Walsh never lets that weigh him down, and I think that comes through in his play. He never lets the mistakes get to him. He always keeps going after it. I think him and Munster are the two players that will hold this Grand Final in their hands. Munster is older and steadier and more mature and, you know, maybe a little bit more reliable. But Reece Walsh can grab the sun. And that will, for better and for worse, define Brisbane's chances on the night.
We also have a juicy NRLW decider as Brisbane take on the Chooks. The Broncos have the best player in the game in Tamika Upton. Is that going to be enough to deny a Chooks team going for back-to-back titles? I think they've won 18 straight.
Stacky, I don't want to go for hyperbole, but I think this has the chance to be the best game of women's rugby league ever played. When you look at the star power on both sides and the history between the both of them. This is a game that's not just been building all season, where the Roosters have gone unbeaten and the Broncos have only lost the one game, and that was to the Roosters, and they've broken a host of point-scoring records along the way as well.
Ferguson to Brigginshaw. Sissoko out wide. Johnson, there's the half-century.
It's sort of something that's been developing for the last couple of seasons. The Broncos were the preeminent team in the NRLW in its early years. They won the first 3 premierships in dominant fashion. Then after that, the balance of power kind of tipped towards the Roosters. They're looking for back-to-back titles here. They're looking to finish off an undefeated season. Look, we've been building to it all season, but we've also been building to it for years. Tamika Upton has had the best season that any women's rugby league player has ever had. She released the NRLW in tries, try assists, line breaks, and line break assists.
Broughton on the left. She dummies. She gets to the line. Gives it to Upton. Upton and Bette Welsh. She goes straight round Bette Welsh and scores underneath the post. That's her 19th try of the season, the most by any player in NRLW history.
You literally can't do more than that. But the Roosters have such a well-rounded team from 1 to 17. If Upton is the best player in the world, Roosters lock forward Olivia Kernick is probably second. She puts up Payne Haas, Jason Taumalolo type numbers every single week. She just gives them so much drive and punch up the middle of the field. It's a great clash of styles between the Broncos' ability to play side to side and get the ball wide and score brilliant tries, and the Roosters' ability to attack through the middle third and really set the parameters of every game they kind of play. This one's a real coin flip for me. I'm taking the Roosters, but I think it could really be one for the books, mate. It could be a real classic that really gets the party started on Sunday, Arvo.
Sunday's going to be a movie. Can't wait to see the ending. Campo, thank you so much.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Too much Grand Final chat. Not enough time for soundbites this week. The NRL and NRLW Grand Finals will both be live, commercial-free, on the ABC Listen app. So make sure you are tuned in. I'm Patrick Stack. This is ABC Sport Daily, produced by Poppy Penny. Thanks to Channel 9, Fox Sports, and the Howie Games for the extra audio used in this episode.
Discover more great ABC podcasts, live radio, and exclusives on the ABC Listen app.